Hey everyone, Ping here. So I just got back from a Nintendo Switch event, a press preview, where we had the chance, myself and a few other members of staff, Sean J66 and Fast6191, got the chance to play some Nintendo Switch, hands-on, and I'm just going to give you my impressions of that event and my impressions of the Nintendo Switch and the games we got to play. Now, I'm going to use some of the footage I captured on my phone for this video, so it's nothing of great quality. If you want to see some good quality pictures and video, you're probably better off checking out whatever Fast is working on. He went to great efforts to get some good production there. Unlike me, this is just basically a vlog, an audio log of what my impressions were. First things first, I'm just going to talk about the venue itself, my thoughts on that. Press-wise, this was a press preview of a pretty major technological event, a new Nintendo console, hands-on. First time the press, the public, have gotten the chance to play on it. And, I was shocked by the turnout. It was less than maybe 100 people. It didn't seem that there was any actual genuinely professional news outlets there. No, nothing like the BBC. Not would the BBC go to something like this? I don't know, but IGN, even sort of level of games media. It seemed like the majority of the people there were perhaps YouTubers and sort of amateur games journalists and people like myself who are just involved in a fairly large site. And I was surprised at how few people there was, like 100-ish, maybe. When you're in there on the floor of the venue, which was the Hammersmith Apollo, it wasn't the biggest of venues, and it wasn't packed. If anything, there was as many staff people to guide you through the event as there were press, as there were journalists. And I was quite surprised by that. I was quite surprised by the low turnout. But, I guess for people like us, this is an exciting thing. But for an outlet of a major size, it's not worth the effort of sending people out there just to play the Switch when you can just play some video of the press conference that they had before and some stock footage. So that was that. The venue itself, in terms of games on show, again, quite underwhelming. I was actually surprised at how few games there were on show. There was no third-party presence at all. Pretty much you had a Sonic Chronicles booth, a Super Street Fighter 2 booth to represent Sega, Capcom, a few other booths, a Skylanders booth for Activision, but calling them a booth is being generous. There were just one person there with a Switch, either running through a TV or running through the Switch itself, the tablet interface itself. And that's what a booth consisted of. Um, I mean, half of the venue was dedicated to Zelda and Splatoon and Mario Kart 8. The center of the venue was dominated by Switch 1, 2, which I'll get into later, and also ARMS had a major presence. It had multiple booths, a big stage actually for ARMS, quite the big push for that, which I'm surprised about, because it's just glorified Wii boxing with more nuance, more tactics, you know, more variety, but Wii boxing basically. And it's not even a game that you can play with one switch between two people, because you need a controller in each hand, but I'll get into that later. So yeah, the venue itself, what was on show, very underwhelming. The only big games were really Zelda, Mario Kart, Splatoon 2. Nothing else of interest. A few indie games to the side, a Disgaea, I think, and just there was very little to get excited about. And considering Splatoon 2, pretty much the same as the last game visually, very little difference there from what I could see. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is just Mario Kart 8 with a few more tracks. But yeah. Before I talk more about the games, I'll just talk about the Switch itself, because I got to play it docked and undocked in my hands. You know, it's the screen. I'll start off with the screen. The screen is quite nice on it, I thought. Vivid, good viewing angles, which I think is important if it's a device geared towards people huddled around it. You know, you need good viewing angles for that. I found that when I played Mario Kart 8, my thumbs were slipping off the left analog stick. I don't know if perhaps because many people played on that unit, someone with greasy hands from the free burgers and chips that were on offer for us over there played it before me, could have been the cause of that. Someone with excessive hand lotion, someone sweaty before me. I wasn't sweating, but I found it quite slippery to get a grip of. And it's, like I said, it's a very large unit. It's not portable. It's way bigger than a Vita, you know, far more cumbersome than a Vita. It's the least portable Nintendo system since the Virtual Boy. No way could you have it in a pocket. No chance of that. You'd have to have it in some sort of special carrying case, because it's essentially a 7-inch piece of glass. You know, I can see a few months after release, lots of Switches going on sale on eBay with broken screens. The screen's broken, but it's for sale. You can just use it in the base unit. I can see a lot of people using it on the base unit. While it's in the base unit, very small console, smaller than the Wii. In fact, slimmer than the Wii, from what I could tell. You know, so if you don't have much space under your entertainment center, shouldn't be a problem finding somewhere to put the Switch. playing a lot of Switch 1-2 games, we got to experience the HD rumble feature, the haptic feedback. That was very impressive. But when it stopped, or even when the controllers are attached to the tablet, it seems to lose the effect, the HD effect. For example, there's one game on it where you hold the Switch controller in your hand. Imagine it's like a matchbox or a cigarette carton with several balls in it, metal balls, and you're tilting it, and the balls are hitting one end to the other, and the point of the game is to guess how many balls are in the box. It's a multiplayer game that you play with someone else. Very effective, very impressive. It actually did feel like there were balls in there that were bouncing around, but like I said, it seems to be lost when attached to the Switch itself. And you know, I don't know how many developers will actually use this feature for anything significant. I can't really see it adding much other than a few gimmicks, maybe a Skyrim lock-picking sort of mini game. There is actually a Switch 1-2 mini game that involves you cracking a safe by feeling the haptic feedback, the 3D rumble. But I don't know. Seems to be very gimmicky and something that people won't use. What else have I got to say about the hardware itself? Nothing much, because it was pretty limited what we got to experience. There seems to be infrared ports on the controllers that snap off. There's a large air vent at the top of the Switch. So if you drop that in the puddle, it's going to get ruined immediately, probably. But I think that might just be used more when the Switch is docked and upclocked. So I'll just go into the games, and I talked a little bit about that before Switch 1-2. Tried a few of the mini games. You know, they last from anything from 20 seconds to a minute. Very WarioWare-esque. This, I don't know if they're charging for Switch 1-2. I wouldn't buy it. If it's free, it's a nice demo to demo with people at a party. Maybe it's something you would play as much as you would play Wii Sports at a party, you know. But none of the games have any kind of depth that will make you play them for even half an hour with someone, really. So I didn't hate the games I played. I was sort of impressed with the functionality of the controllers, but at the same time, not very impressed in their longevity or appeal, really. Next, I'll talk about ARMS. I played that. Played it against the booth attendant nfast6191. Like I said, this game, if you're playing it against someone else, seems like you need 2 switches, because each of you needs to have a controller, half of a controller in each hand. Very accurate. Also with Switch 1-2, the actual motion tracking is very accurate on these. I was surprised. never had an issue with it not tracking my movements properly. Arms itself, the game, it's kind of fun, I suppose, but it suffers from the same things that Wii Boxing really suffered. How often will you play this? You know, especially if you need two switches to play against someone. The beauty of Wii Boxing was you only needed one Wii and two controllers. You know, this you need two switches, two copies of the game, possibly. I don't know. Maybe. Well, I doubt it be able to transmit data to from one switch to another, but maybe if it had that feature, it would certainly raise my thoughts of the game. Like I said, it was very accurate. All the tracking in 3 dimensions was very accurate. The game was, I had fun with it, but then again, you know, this is not why I'm really buying a Switch. I have pre-ordered one. I pre-ordered one before I went to the event. I haven't cancelled my pre-order yet, even though it was sort of tempting. But yeah, it's for a game to get that's getting such a push. It's not Splatoon, basically. Put it at that. Next up, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I did both split screen on the TV and 8-player with 8 switches against people. It's exactly the same as Mario Kart U, you know, Mario Kart on the Wii U. Graphically, I was impressed with Mario Kart on the Wii U. I thought it was the best looking game Nintendo have ever produced. Seeing it on a small screen, seeing it on split screen, it's still just as impressive on the Switch. But it's just glorified Mario Kart 8. It's all the DLC tracks plus some more. So not much to say about that, you know. It's a rehash. So, you know, it's not what I'm buying a Switch for. I've already got Mario Kart on the Wii U that I can play. But it was good, very competent, very smooth frame rate, very good graphics, impressive coming from a tablet, I suppose, but it's a rehash. Lastly, I'll talk about Zelda Breath of the Wild. Played that. The first thing I noticed immediately playing this, while I was in line even before I played it, was it had some very rough spots, frame rate rise. That doesn't matter to some people. It does matter to me somewhat, you know. I prefer a smooth frame rate if I can get it, you know. But also, any first party title with frame rate issues is a concern about the Switch's power. It was hinted that this is perhaps a preview build, an early build, not necessarily reflective of the final game performance-wise. I can accept that. We live in a world of day one patches. I wouldn't be surprised if Breath of the Wild received patches to improve performance. That's perfectly fine. But other than that, draw distance, very impressive. You can see far into the horizon. I don't know how much of that is trickery or what. It's not necessarily fluid things happening in the horizon movement. Is pretty static, but impressive nonetheless. I like the game's art style. I didn't like the game's button layout. It was very odd and confusing. Jump was X at the top. A at the side was confirm selections and stuff. I would have preferred it to be B on the bottom. Um, I, I didn't, because the demo was limited to 20 minutes of playtime, I didn't go into the menus to mess with the controls other than inverting vertical look. But I hope that's an option because I didn't like the button layout. The game itself, I've warmed to the art style a lot more than when I first saw it. I think it's a nice mix between 3D sort of Zelda and something like Wind Waker. It's just got a little bit of cell shading. The combat seemed solid. I didn't like the weapons, the way the weapons degraded so quickly. But I guess they're early weapons, so they're supposed to be bad. I guess I can't be too harsh on that. The person guiding me through the demo said there's over 100 temples, sort of mini dungeons to explore, lots of content. I believe that. It's very encouraging, but at the same time, this is coming out on the Wii U, so it's yet another. I think that takes away from it the fact that it's not an exclusive. If I was Nintendo, I would have rethunk my strategy and perhaps cancelled it on the Wii U. Because what is the Wii U now? It's dead. It's hacked. It's wide open. You're going to lose a lot of sales to piracy. There's the few people clinging on are pirates. But maybe it will be a big seller for the Wii U. Maybe it will drive the sale of the last few Wii U's out there. Who knows? I mean, it is Zelda after all. And it's a very exciting game. I was actually impressed by it. There seems a lot to it. I'm not too keen on the survival elements and stuff like that, but time will tell. The way it's executed will say it all, but very, very hopeful there. So that's it, I think, pretty much. It's a mixed bag. I'm just really concerned that at this event there was no third-party showings at all, nothing, and there was only a handful of games. I think it spoke volumes that the event started at about 3. By around 5 or 6, 5 o'clock, half the people that attended had gone. Really, by 5 o'clock, the number of staff outnumbered the actual press there, which was a bit sad, to be honest. Because, you know, after 3 or 4 hours, you've probably played everything once over at least, because there was so few games on the show. So I don't know. It needs more games. It needs more support. Whatever Nintendo has to do to get support from other publishers, other third parties, they need to do it. They need to reach out, give them the olive branch, give them an incentive, because, you know, Zelda, and 3 or 4 months from now, Mario, and well, 5 or 6 months from now, Mario, and in between Mario Kart Rehash, Switch 1-2, ARMS, 6-year-old Skyrim, FIFA. These games won't sustain interest in your console. They're not going to get the people to buy your console. Only the most hardcore. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Mixed. The hardware, at least, seems good, but it needs more games, and that's that. If you listen to this all the way through, thanks very much. Make sure you read Fast's contribution and whatever contribution Sean has. Thanks, everyone. Bye.